Hi, my name is Ami Lahner, and I am a committee member for the Philadelphia Museum of Art Craft Show. And we are so pleased today to have with us one of our participating artists. Rachel David is coming to us from her studio in North Carolina. And we are so happy to have you here with us this year, Rachel. I know it's your first year doing the Philadelphia Museum of Art show. So we just wanted to chat a little bit about your work and what you're planning to bring with you to the show, and just a little bit about your influence. So if you want to just talk a little bit about what you're working on to bring to the craft show this year, that would be great.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me at the show also. Well, this year, it's kind of the first year in my new studio, so I figured I'd give you all a tour. So let me turn the camera around.
That's
and
great.
we can see some of the work and some of the where I make the work, where I make it. So here is a piece. This is not, I do a lot of custom work. So this is a sculpture stand going to some old clients in New Orleans. This is a table on my big table. I'm going to pick it up very carefully so I don't give anyone seasickness. So this is a table, like a side table, but it's somewhere along the lines of this pollinator series that I've been working on. Moving to North Carolina really has me in the thick of habitat and habitat loss and learning about habitat restoration.
Beautiful. Are you bringing that to the show? Is that one of the pieces you're working on for the Philadelphia show?
Unfortunately, no, that's going to, the work that's going to the show is mostly done. I think I have 3 more pieces that I'm trying to complete. But those are kind of in sticks and the rest of it's all wrapped up. But it's along the lines of it's very, I work in series, and so I'm working a lot with similar forms to these 2 pieces. In particular, this kind of textural forged sheet metal. This is sort of what I'm known for, at least in the metalworking sphere.
Can you talk a little bit about that? What your influence is? I know you said nature, but are there other things that are influencing your work in that type of work that you've been doing?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the work I do has to do kind of with operating in the I'm trying to get that light out of the frame. Okay. A lot of the work that I do has to kind of do with restrictions and boundaries and working to kind of subvert those advisories, right? Like where the framework, like on that sculpture stand that I showed you earlier, like there's this framework in that banana shape, how that holds the boundaries, but then there's all of this textures pushing through. And so a lot of the work that I've been doing for the last few years, really, it's an endless exploration of boundaries, and my own comfort levels and like my technical abilities are growing all the time. While I didn't develop this process, I kind of just didn't know that it existed before I started doing it, just because I'm fairly isolated. And so I've been learning how to make these very, very dimensional pieces with a very old technique called repoussé. And it's primarily used in metalsmithing, which is more focused in non-ferrous metals. And so doing it hot and ferrous with iron and steel is like a little different, but not too much. It's different, but it's not I'm special, but I'm not that special. Let's just say that.
Is most of the work functional, like furniture, or is it sculptural?
Yeah, so I'm bringing a bunch of really cool new stuff to the show. I'm bringing a cabinet that has like a work table and some shelves inside and a really cool counterweighted door countertop thing. So people will get to play with that. And then a bunch of bowls and some smaller, I'm
Great.
very interested in cabinetry, like the idea of what's in and out, and a couple of the pieces in particular, especially with the liquor cabinet series, talking about boundaries, talking about like how we subvert dominant paradigms and like how ironwork has entered into or kind of exists and was popularized in because it's need in economies and like way back when, like traditional times. It was used a lot in weapons development with that, with the Atlantic slave trade, that's a lot of what was going on. And so when we're talking about ironwork and then referencing liquor cabinets, like it's pretty interesting to think about the triangle trade and how all of these things are interchanged. And I think like, especially in crafts, like we're having like a very, very in-depth and intense conversation way far too late about where influences come from and appropriation and all of these really fascinating and important topics. And so like, that's a lot, I'm working with that. And
So there's a lot of deep meaning behind all of the pieces. They come with a history.
Well, I'm working a historic field. And so I think it's really important. It's very rarely talked about what kind of influence blacksmithing had to do with the slave trade. And I think part of that is because it's embarrassing and it's not tasteful and it's hard conversation. So I think that is important. And I think that stuff is really important. And also like, as an artist, as a maker, like I'm thinking about stuff all the time. And yeah, I make objects, but I really, really think, or my work, it's important that there's some conceptual and contextual validity, or validity is kind of judgmental because there's a lot of great work that's done that is only process motivated. But because my process has such a history, it really does make me think about all of the places that it's been. And I mean, I love my process. Like you can see, like I have put a lot of work into my shop. So like this is the forging area, and most of the tool, I mean, not the hammers, but I have made a power hammer. But most of the tools I've made and I built this building. Like, so I'm very interested in the holistic nature of the work.
Right. That's amazing. I mean, I think it's so interesting to have that behind each piece, you know, for somebody who will be coming to the show and looking at your work. Obviously, you'll be telling them the stories to know what's behind it as opposed to it just being a pretty object or something that looks good in their living room. It's just so much. Well, I'm sure it will look good in their living room, but you know, there's more to it, which, you know, that's the great thing about doing a show and coming to a show like ours, where somebody can have a conversation with you and really find out, you know, where you're coming from, what's being put into this piece of work. It's not just, you know, something to sit in the corner. It's really got something behind it. So, I mean, I think that's really fascinating, and hopefully, you know, you'll have a good experience at the show and get to tell a lot of people about, you know, where you're coming from and where the work is coming from. So that's great. Yeah, we're excited to have you. I know it's the first time that you're participating in the Philadelphia Museum of Art show. So we are thrilled to have you as a new artist with us this year. We are going to have, I think we're at about 195 artists participating. So it's going to be a really nice group of people, and people can come and see you at the Philadelphia Convention Center. It's going to be from November 11th to the 13th this year. So we are looking forward to having you there. Thanks, Rachel. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Have a really great day.